at your end. Online session में जाके एक बार check करो. You will be able to see the code at least. All right. Now, for example, Anirudh, अगर मैं बोलती हूँ I have two variables, integer a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 5. And suppose I'm writing integer c. I'm calculating c is equal to a minus b. And I'm saying c out the addition, and I'm saying c. Now, at this point, when you try to compile this code, this will not give you any error. The reason is you have written a correct syntax over here, and you have used a printf statement, which is going to print the data for you. But at this point, when you observe, I am saying I am printing addition, but I am getting the difference 10 minus 5 as a 5 over here. What is the reason behind it? The reason is you have written a wrong logic for it. And when you are writing a wrong logic, syntactically अगर आपका प्रोग्राम करेक्ट है तो वो कंपाइल टाइम एरर नहीं देगा. आपने रॉन्ग लॉजिक लिखा है, आपने प्लस की जगह पे माइनस साइन यूज किया है, इसलिए वो आपको एडिशन की जगह पे 5 दे रहा है. So this type of error is called as runtime error. All right, Anirudh? All right. Any more questions so far? Right. So did you all revise the meaning of, you can say, operator overloading? What do you mean by template? Yes, Sanket, you can contact us whenever you are facing the technical problem, and no worries, you can send a message onto the Zoom channel, and Zoom channel will not be closed. It is basically open for you to put the technical queries. Even after session gets over, if you are facing the problem, you can contact. If the runtime error, then it will compile successfully. Not necessary, Anirudh. कभी-कभी क्या होता है, जब आपने फॉर एग्जांपल while loop यूज किया, तो while loop में भी आपका while loop सपोज इनफाइनाइट लूप में चला गया, तो इन दैट केस इट विल नॉट गिव यू कंपाइल टाइम एरर, बट आपका प्रोग्राम कंटिन्यूअसली चलता जाएगा, तो दैट इज आल्सो वन काइंड ऑफ रन टाइम एरर. So it is based on how you are writing the program, whether you are following the correct syntax, whether you are following the correct structure of the program. In that case, probably आपके compile time errors नहीं आते हैं. Compile time errors आपके variables के time पे variable declare नहीं किया, उसको use किया, function call किया, आपने function को call लिखा नहीं है, या फिर आपने object नहीं बनाया, and so on. Just give me a moment. All right. So we can expect output even if the wrong during runtime. Yes, Sahil, but you can also expect some kind of, you can say, random output, which is unpredictable. Right. Haniraj, you can use GCC or Turbo C. These are the major compilers that we can go for. Right now, VS Code and GCC compiler go hand in hand. You can go for Eclipse IDE and you can go for GCC. You can use any IDE, and GCC can be used as a backend for your as a compiler for C and C++. Okay. All right. Any more questions so that we will proceed? Hardik, what is the output of this? I'm not getting your question. Maybe you want to post some query or question. No, Madhuri. Again, I'm saying it is based on how you are writing the program. For example, अगर मैं आपको यहाँ पे बोलती हूँ please see out a, that variable called as a, and you print a. In that case, can you please tell me अब यहाँ पे कौन सा type of error आएगा? Everyone, because you are able to analyze, right? कि यहाँ पे इंटीजर a नाम का या कैरेक्टर a नाम का कोई वेरिएबल डिक्लेयर नहीं किया है एंड द यूजर इज यूजिंग इट, सो इट इज बेसिकली कंपाइल टाइम एरर. तो आपको समझ में कब आएगा कंपाइल टाइम एरर कब आता है, रन टाइम एरर कब आता है? when you try to practice more number of source codes and when you do some minor mistakes into the program, then at that point आपने semicolon नहीं दिया, curly brackets open नहीं किया, for loop को round bracket नहीं दिया, तो in those scenarios you will get the compile time errors. So when you practice, तो आपको समझ में आते जाएगा कि कितने मे बी कितने टाइप्स ऑफ कंपाइल टाइम एरर्स अकर हो सकते हैं. जैसे रजिस्टर कीवर्ड यूज किया था तो एंड साइन आपने यूज किया था, राइट? सो दिस इज हाउ इट इज इट ओके? डिड यू ऑल गेट इट? Okay, Madhuri, you can share the question onto the Zoom channel. Someone will give you the reply, because I cannot remember all the book questions along with the options, right? So you can share the question with me otherwise. Okay, I'll give you the answer for it. Okay. Shall we continue to the next topics of CPP? All right. Any more questions with respect to the last class? Hope you have revised and you are at least comfortable in what do you mean by constructor, what is destructor, what do you mean by operator overloading, what do you mean by you can say template, and so on. All right. Now, let us understand. Okay, Rahul sir have given you the answer, Madhuri. It is runtime error or stack overflow error. Okay. Okay. For recursion question. All right. Okay. So let us continue with the next topic. So till the last class, we have seen something called as template as a last topic. We have seen operator overloading, what is the need, how to do it, and how we can write an operator function. We can write operator function as a member function, or we can write operator function as a non-member function. And I have given you the example of overloading the binary operator, that is plus operator. In today's class, we will first observe what do you mean by friend keyword, what do you mean by inheritance, how to achieve inheritance, and what do you mean by virtual keyword, what do you mean by abstract class, and so on. So let us start with the concept of friend keyword. All right. Now, let us say when you talk about friend, to understand this scenario, I will give you one example first. Let us say I have one class, right? And this class is maybe I am giving a class A. This class A is having, let us say, integer num1. Maybe I have one more class, which is class B. This class B is having one more number, integer num2. Now, when you talk about class A and class B having num1 and num2, assuming these are the private data members declared within the class. If I'm saying these are the private data members declared within the class, first of all, अगर मुझे यहाँ पे num को access करना है, then I can have a, let us say, a getter function, or I can have some as this accept function, or I can have something called as a setter function, or I can have some function called as display function to display its details. So these are the basically some of the functions that I have specified for my program. Similarly, if I say I want to go for the similar kind of functionality in class B2, whereas this is treated as private data member, this is also treated as a private data member. If I would like to have a value of num1, I can write num1 is equal to getter function, get num1, or get function मैंने लिखा है. If I say I want to accept some, I can write a function called as accept. Similarly, if I write num2 and I write get, then also I can be able to access this num2. Means what is the conclusion over here is, conclusion is num1 can be only accessed by class A member functions. And second conclusion is num2 can be only accessed by class B because it is private data members. Can I say like this, everyone? Now, understand the scenario where I want num1 to be accessed and I want num2 to be accessed. Where I need to access it? I need to access it in one common functionality. Maybe I want sum where I can take num1 from class A and num2 from class B. Now the question is, या तो मैं क्लास A के अंदर सम लिख सकती हूँ जहां पे मैं num1 ही एक्सेस कर सकती हूँ. सेकेंड ऑप्शन इज, और आई कैन राइट अ सम फंक्शन इनसाइड क्लास B, तो क्लास B के अंदर सिर्फ num2 को ही जगह मिलेगा. Will I be able to access num1 in the member function of class B? No. Will I be able to access num2 in the member function of class A? No, because that is private, right? बट इन रियल टाइम एप्लीकेशन मुझे डिफरेंट क्लासेस के प्राइवेट डेटा मेंबर्स को एक्सेस करके आगे प्रोसेसिंग करना पड़ सकता है. ऑफ कोर्स यस. इन दैट केस आई विल से सम इज अ कॉमन फंक्शन. सम इज अ कॉमन फंक्शन which is declared within these two. So assume मैंने अब consider the scenario and please focus very carefully. Now assume I have written the declaration part over here. I have written a declaration part, assume, over here also. So when I try to define the sum function, can I write sum integer a or integer num1, integer num2, and here I will write scope resolution class A and I'll say void. Can I say like this जब मैं इसको define करूंगी? I hope you remember the syntax. And suppose फिर से मैंने sum function लिखा integer num1, integer num2, and again I'm defining it outside the class which is class B and I'm writing void. Now the question is, when I give a call to sum function 20, 30, in that case, will my compiler will get confused? Is it a confusion for my compiler? कि whether to go to this sum function definition or whether to go to this sum function definition? Are you understanding the scenario? It means I cannot write a common same function definition in this scenario at the same with the same declaration definition in different classes. ये नहीं लिख सकती. Then what is the solution? Because this is not possible. This will create a confusion for my compiler which sum function is to call. But still I want the same kind of functionality. मुझे एक ऐसा फंक्शन लिखना है जो क्लास ए का भी प्राइवेट डेटा मेंबर रेफर करे, क्लास बी का भी प्राइवेट डेटा मेंबर फंक्शन प्राइवेट डेटा मेंबर एक्सेस करे. In that case, I will declare this sum function with the keyword called as friend keyword. This is called as a declaration for a friend function inside both the classes. So what will happen now? In this case, friend से पता चलेगा कि क्लास A के अंदर मैंने friend डिक्लेयर किया, ओके. क्लास B के अंदर मैंने सेम फंक्शन डिक्लेयर किया friend, ओके. That means class A and class B ये दोनों खुद के friends हो गए, तो they will be able to access the private data members. So when I say a friend keyword is used to access the private data members of the class and in different functions. जो भी फंक्शन को मैं फ्रेंड बनाती हूँ और जिस पर्टिकुलर क्लास के अंदर मैं फ्रेंड फंक्शन का डिक्लेरेशन करती हूँ, all these become the friend of each other. Have you understood the need of friend functions, a friend keyword? So that I will give you the, you can say, example, right? Yes, Madhuri, I will take an example. It will be easy for you. To access the private data members, you can use the friend function. Why? Because it might be the necessity that some of the functions may require to access the different class private data members. So for that, we can go for friend keyword. All right. Let us say I'm writing a class A, right? Let us say inside this class A, I'm writing a private keyword, maybe integer num1. Now, inside this, I'll write, how can I say it is private? Hardik, can you see it is a private data member num1? Okay. Next, I'm saying public declaration where I have written this. Can you please tell me what is line number 11? Line number 11 is constructor. So I'll set num1 is equal to 10. Next, I'm saying integer num1. And I'll say, again, this is a constructor, which is parameterized constructor. This arrow num1 is equal to num1. Right. Now, I will declare a function called as void sum, which can take A ka A obj, which can take B class ka B object. This function I want to write commonly in both the classes. So I will precede it with the keyword called as friend keyword. Now, please listen carefully. I have created object of B over here, but have I defined the class B? Up to this point, have I defined the class B? No. Obviously, मुझे यहाँ पे class B define करना पड़ेगा, declare and define करना पड़ेगा. Yes. So, whenever you are, can I say, I am creating the object of class B before its declaration? Can I say I'm creating the object of class B before its declaration? In that scenario, it is always a good practice. You first write class B and semicolon. This is called as forward declaration. So what is forward declaration? It is an intimation given to your compiler that in my program, maybe at the later stage, I am going to define one class which is having a name called as class B. तो जब आपने यहाँ पे B का ऑब्जेक्ट बनाया तो ऑटोमेटिकली वो क्लास B के इस पे जाएगा and then it will try to search it. So this is necessary when you are declaring. या तो मैं पहले क्लास A डिक्लेयर कर सकती हूँ एंड बाद में डिफाइन कर सकती हूँ, या तो पहले क्लास B डिफाइन करो और A को फॉरवर्ड डिक्लेरेशन करो. मींस if there is a functionality in your program where you are creating object of that class prior to its declaration, then you can go for something called as only forward declaration. So forward declaration means this is the intimation given to the operating system or compiler that you are going to use something called as class B in your program. All right. So I'll say inside class B, I have integer num2. I'm declaring a constructor class B where I'm setting this arrow num2 is equal to 20. I'm setting one constructor num2. I'm saying this arrow num2 is equal to num2. Similarly, here I will have the same declaration. Just copy this and paste it. So what does it mean? It means that मेरा क्लास A है जिसके पास सम फंक्शन है, मेरे पास क्लास B है जिसके पास भी सम फंक्शन है, but the signature of friend function, signature or prototype or declaration of friend function must be kept exactly same in all the classes to whom you want to make friends. इससे क्या हुआ? इससे मेरा क्लास A और क्लास B एक कॉमन फंक्शनैलिटी के ऊपर काम कर सकते हैं कॉल्ड एज सम फंक्शन. नाउ लेट अस से अगर मैं यहां पे बोलती हूं void display, can you please tell me Is my void display is a friend function of class B now? Is my void display is a friend function of class B? If we add the keyword called as friend, तभी ही बन सकता है, otherwise नहीं बन सकता. Are you getting the scenario? So sum is a common functionality, kind of जैसे आपके friends और mutual friends रहते हैं. So what is mutual friend? In this case, the sum is a mutual friend for us, via which we can communicate with each other. Are you getting what do you mean by friend keyword in C++? It is like mutual friends in your normal social media, जैसे आप बोलते हो, right? So due to this some common functionality, A and B can have the accessibility. अब यहाँ पे होता है कि यहाँ पे मैंने सिर्फ डिक्लेयर किया है. Here also I have done the declaration. Next, I need to define. Please understand, अगर मुझे define करना है, obviously this will be the syntax. अब मैं scope resolution के साथ ऐसे a comma b लिख सकती हूँ क्या? Can I write scope resolution a का भी function है, b का function है? नहीं लिख सकती. अगर मैं सिर्फ a का लिखूंगी तो वो तो a का ही बन जाएगा. If I only write b function तो वो तो b का बन जाएगा. But what I want to intimate this is a common functionality. That's the reason I have given a friend keyword. So if you are using a friend function, a friend keyword in some function declaration, while defining it, no need to give one more time friend keyword, no need to give the scope resolution operator. Have you understood? Now, let us say I'm writing result. I'm saying result is equal to a obj dot num1 plus b obj dot num2, right? I'll say C out and I'll say result and res. So, can you observe, अगर मैंने किसी फंक्शन को फ्रेंड कीवर्ड किया है क्लास के बाहर aobj.num1 मैं डायरेक्टली एक्सेस कर सक रही हूँ. क्या मैं मेन में a क्लास का aobj1 बनाऊं और aobj.num1 इज इक्वल टू 50, क्या मैं ऐसे सेट कर सकती हूँ क्या? Can I set it like this? Answer is no, Aniket. It is because num1 is private. If we wish to access the private data members of the class, या तो मुझे इधर एक्सेप्ट फंक्शन को कॉल करना पड़ेगा, या तो मुझे इधर गेटर सेटर को कॉल करना पड़ेगा, या फिर मुझे खुद से कंस्ट्रक्टर को डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा. I cannot have any object name along with the private data members. याद है सबको concept, but can you observe inside the sum function I have accessed the private data members directly with the help of object name dot function, that dot method name. Is it okay? Right. Let us call this sum function. I'm creating a का a1 object, b का b1 object. I'm passing sum a1 comma b1. First of all, can you please tell me a1, will it give a call to constructor of a class? Yes. Will it allocate num1 is equal to 10? Yes. Next time I have given a call to b1, it will call b constructor, assign num2 20. So that means यहाँ पे a1 object का 10 वाला instance and b1 object का 20 वाला instance sum function को call होगा. num1 की value, it will fetch it. num2 की value, it will fetch it, and it should give me the result as 30 as a first time. Second time, let us say I'm writing a2 object, but now I'm passing 50 value. b2 object, now I'm passing 40 value. Will it give a call to parameterized constructor and set num1 and num2 value accordingly? And now I'm giving a call a2 comma b2. It is nothing but object. It is going inside the sum function, will perform the operation and gives me the result. Let us compile this code and check the output. So with the help of friend keyword, you can access the private data members of the class directly, right? Let us try to execute. Am I getting the result correctly? Have you understood now? So अगर आपको किसी भी फील्ड को और किसी भी प्राइवेट डेटा मेंबर को एक्सेस करना है, you have different options. Option number 1, you can write a constructor inside the class. You can initialize them. Option number 2, you can write getters and setters inside that class function. Option number 3, you can use except function and you can go ahead with it. But if you really wish to access that private data member outside the class scope, you have only one answer. You can use that as a friend function. समझ में आया the need of friend? Everyone, via friend function, you are able to access the fields within it. Is it okay? Any questions so far? So friend is a keyword which is basically, अब यहाँ पे I'll give you one, you can say, suppose, I'll give you just skeleton now. Suppose I have a class A, right? And with some fields, right? In that case, right, Durga, I will give you the meaning of superclass after 10-15 minutes. Super is a keyword which is used actually in Java, but super is a class in which you can say super is normally used in case of inheritance. What is subclass and superclass? वो मैं आपको थोड़ी देर में बताऊंगी. But as far as your C++ programming is concerned, super keyword is not directly available in C++. It's available in Java for achieving inheritance. But C++ में inheritance कैसे achieve करते हैं वो मैं आज बताऊंगी. Okay. Now, let us say I'm having void display. Okay. Let us say I have one more function, void except. Maybe I have generate a result. These functions, right? Now, in this, I will say, I'm creating this as a friend function. Okay. And maybe I'll close this. Obviously, I will have some kind of, you can say, other constructors and so on. I'm having class B. I'm having some kind of functions here as well. Maybe except one, maybe get one or display one. ये सारे functions है. Along with it, I have one friend function, void, let us say, generate result. Just a function name with the keyword called as friend. Now, in this case, when I try to specify this generate result outside the class, I will just write void generate result. And I will write a function definition for it. Hope it is clear. Yeah, अभी just हमने थोड़ी देर पहले देखा, right? Now, if I say, can you please tell me in class A, how many member functions I have declared? In class A, how many member functions I have declared? 2 कैसे? This is one this is function, this is also function, this is also member function only, na? Because मैंने उसके अंदर define किया है 3. Okay, I will say only functions. In class B, how many functions I have declared? 3 functions. Good. I'm saying right now, I have made only one function as a friend function between these two. Okay. Let us consider the scenario where I have in this scenario only one kind of common functionality where I can access some data. तो मैंने एक ही function को friend बनाया. So if you have only one or two functions to be made as friend, you can go with this scope. Okay. But suppose I have one class. Let us say I have one class test in which I'm having again accept function, I'm having get function, and I'm having, let us say, void display function. And I am saying ये भी मेरा friend function है. This is also a friend function, and this is also a friend function. Okay. So now in this class test, I have three functions which are friend functions. Assume I have one more class which is called as demo class. Okay. Means in this scenario, can I say in class test, all the functions are friend function, all the functions are friend function, or maximum functions are friend functions? Let me just write here one more function, maybe iska void, and I have, let us say, print function. And I'll say here, this is one function, another function which is available in test. And let us say here I have void print one function. Assume. Can you tell me in class test how many non-friend functions are there? Only one. In class test, how many friend functions are there? There are three. And those friend functions are friends of demo class. So instead of writing every function preceded with a friend function, what I will write, I will say, I will make this complete class as a friend class. I will make this complete class as a friend class. So what if I say I have only one function which is having one friend functionality, or where I need to just access some private data members, I have only one or two functions, तो मैं specifically functions को friend बनाती हूँ. बट अगर मुझे पता है कि मेरे पास 4 फंक्शंस है, उसमें से 3 भी मेरे फ्रेंड फंक्शन ही है, तो इंस्टेड ऑफ मेकिंग इंडिविजुअल फ्रेंड फंक्शन, आई विल मेक क्लास एज अ फ्रेंड. Have you understood the scenario? When to make a class as a friend? So if you have more number of functions as friends of each other, तो इससे अच्छा तो मैं पूरा उसको complete class को ही मैं friend बना दूंगी. उस क्लास को हम बोलते हैं फ्रेंड क्लास. उस क्लास को हम क्या बोलते हैं? फ्रेंड क्लास. Did you all get it? So let us understand. I have a class A. This example I've given you, a friend function, right? Let us understand this. I have a class B. I have declared a class A, right? Class B is a friend of class A. When I say friend of class A, तो मैं class A के अंदर friend class B पूरा ही लिख दूंगी. The syntax is write the keyword friend, write the class B. So now please understand. In this example, all the member functions of class B will be friend function of class A. इसका मतलब whatever number of functions you will declare in class B will be accessible directly in class A. Thus, any member function of class B can access the private and protected data of class A. But ulta, that is opposite, vice versa, is not possible. Member function of class A cannot access the data of class B. मतलब if I'm writing class A के अंदर class B as a friend, in that case, a B can have the accessibility of A functions and so on. Vice versa is not possible. ठीक है? Have you understood this scenario? So like a friend function, A class can also be made as a friend of another class using the friend keyword. Is it okay, everyone? All right. So this was about the basics of friend function or friend class. So normally questions that can be asked over here is, in case of friend, you can have the functionality where you can access the private data members of the class. Quickly go through the code, then I'll explain the next concept called as inheritance. Right. Apara, this is what is a syntax. If you are writing a friend function or the friend class, the syntax is, you write class name, you define the class completely. If you really wish to proceed for function as a friend, function का जैसे declaration रहता है, you write like that and you end with a friend keyword. But if you really want to make a class as a friend, do the declaration of first class, do the declaration of second class. जिस क्लास का आपको फ्रेंड बनाना है, you can just write friend class B inside its definition. Okay, I hope you have understood, Apara. All right, quickly go through the code, and if you have any questions, please ask. Are you able to see the code at your end? Devidas, just refresh the browser, you will get the code at your end on Sunbeam portal. 4_1.cpp file आपको दिखता रहेगा. Just refresh the page and check your system date and time. Yes, Hardik, in the last program, आपने a integer num, can we take only a? हार्दिक, जब हम कंस्ट्रक्टर स्पेसिफाई करते हैं तो हम यहाँ पे कंस्ट्रक्टर एंड विदाउट पैरामीटर्स, तो इसको पैरामीटर लेस बोलते हैं. जब आपने कंस्ट्रक्टर स्पेसिफाई किया और पैरामीटर्स पास किए, then that is called as parameterized constructor. When you are creating the object कैसे बनाते हैं? Class name and object name. If I write A1, this is not allowed because this will be treated automatically as calling a parameter less constructor, right? But when you are creating the object by passing some arguments, this will give a call to parameterized constructor. Yes, Hardik, ask me the question.
मैम, हम दोनों क्यों ले रहे हैं, पैरामीटरलेस और पैरामीटराइज्ड?
मुझे दोनों आपको ऑप्शंस बताने थे कि दिस विल गिव अ कॉल टू पैरामीटरलेस, राइट? दिस विल आल्सो गिव अ कॉल टू पैरामीटरलेस. तो जब मैं पैरामीटर लेस कंस्ट्रक्टर को कॉल कर रही हूं तो मेरा वैल्यू पास होगा यहाँ पे 10, यहाँ पे होगा विच इज नथिंग बट 20. सो सम में अब कौन सा पास होगा? A object, that is A1, and B object, that is B1. A1 means your num1, B1 means num2. It will try to calculate the result, that is 30. Again, I have created one more object. This will give a call to which constructor? Parameterized constructor. I'm giving you both the possibilities. Parameterized constructor को वो call करेगा and this will also give a call to parameterized constructor. In this scenario, it will go over here on A, set the num value, will go to B and set the num2 value. Now I'm passing sum of A2, B2. तो A2 and B2 के अंदर objects की आपके members की value क्या है? 50 and 40. So it is giving me 90. I hope you have understood now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Similarly, suppose मैं एक object बनाती हूँ A and I'm saying now I'm creating A3. मेरे पास suppose A3 का accept function रहता था, right? यहाँ A3 का let us say okay, I'll write accept function, right? Similarly B का B3 function रहता था और B3 object B3 dot accept means can I say I have created the third object? Yes, for this program. यहाँ पे एक्सेप्ट फंक्शन ने लेट अस से मुझे कुछ वैल्यू रिटर्न किया, यहाँ पे मुझे वैल्यू रिटर्न किया, एंड देन आई कैन गिव अ कॉल टू सम फंक्शन एंड सो ऑन. So it is like I just wanted to make you understand when I'm passing object, the object which is holding the value initialized by parameterless constructor or initialized by parameterized constructor, both it will take. Why? Because ultimately your sum function is taking the object of one class A, is taking the object of class B. तो वो ऑब्जेक्ट वेदर आपके पैरामीटर लेस को कॉल करे या पैरामीटराइज्ड को कॉल करे, हार्डली मेक्स अ डिफरेंस. इज इट ओके हार्दिक?
यस मैम, बट अपन को जब आर्गुमेंट पास करना रहता है तब पैरामीटर लेस यूज करने का.
आर्गुमेंट पास नहीं करना है.
हाँ, नहीं करना है,
तो
और पास करना है तो
ऑटोमेटिकली
पैरामीटराइज्ड.
होता है, अदरवाइज पैरामीटराइज्ड.
ओके, दोनों में से कोई एक यूज करे तो चलता है ना?
कभी भी चलेगा,
ठीक है, ठीक है,
नो प्रॉब्लम, राइट?
थैंक यू.
यस. ऑल्सो एवरीवन, डिड यू ऑल्सो ऑब्जर्व फ्रेंड फंक्शन को कॉल करने के लिए मैंने ऑब्जेक्ट नेम नहीं यूज किया. क्या मैंने लिखा क्या a1 डॉट सम b1 डॉट सम? नो, because it is a friend function. So explicitly मुझे friend function को सिर्फ फंक्शन के नाम के साथ ही कॉल करना पड़ता है, ऑब्जेक्ट की जरूरत नहीं रहती है. Is it fine? समझ में आया? Shall I go little ahead? All right. Now, let us understand the concept of inheritance, right? Now, we will see one example of inheritance and I will give you the theory part, what exactly different types of inheritance. If I'm saying employee is a person, if I use the words like employee is a person, if can I say here employee can be one class, person can also be one class, and if there is a relationship between two classes, then it is called as inheritance. It is called as inheritance, right? So whenever I'm talking about inheritance, some existing features I'm reusing in the next class, that is derived class, is also called as inheritance. Assume. Okay. Assume I have a class person. I'll write rather over here. Okay. This is the class person. This class person is having maybe some fields, maybe string name, and maybe I'm having integer age. That's it. There are two fields into the class inside the person. I will have some parameterized constructor, maybe some parameter less constructor, parameterized constructor, some parameter less constructor, and maybe I will have one function. I will write the function name as print person, void print person. I just wish to print the details of that person. So this is my function declaration. Now, when I say I will have one more class, and I'm giving that class name as employee. And this point, again, this employee will have some of the fields. Maybe some of the fields. Maybe it is having something called as integer ID, and it is having something called as integer salary. All right. And inside this employee class, I have again one function which is void print underscore employee emp, right? Which is going to display some information to me at whenever I'm working with this. Now, if I say I have this employee class, when I say print emp, in that case, I want जब भी मैं इस फंक्शन को कॉल करूं तो मुझे फर्स्ट फील्ड नेम डिस्प्ले होना चाहिए, सेकंड एज डिस्प्ले होना चाहिए, थर्ड आईडी डिस्प्ले होना चाहिए एंड फोर्थ सैलरी डिस्प्ले होना चाहिए. It means that when I'm saying I'm giving a call to print emp, it should give me name, it should give me age, it should give me ID, it should give me salary. Out of which the first two fields, name and age, should be taken from the class person, ID and salary should be taken from the class employee. And I can say, when I'm saying I am deriving some features from the existing class, I'm deriving some features from the existing class, then this concept is called as inheritance. So ultimately, when I say I will create employee emp is as an object, तो इस ऑब्जेक्ट के अंदर I will have, I want these two fields to be taken, as well as I want these two fields to be taken inside the memory space of the object. So if I want this kind of scenario, I will go for inheritance. Am I reusing the features of person class in the employee object? Yes. Reusability is the major feature of your inheritance, where you will try to reuse some of the existing features. In case of inheritance, that this is the person class in our scenario is called as base class, is called as super class, is called as parent class, however you say, right? In case of employee in our days, this is called as sub base ka, you can say derived class, or super ka sub class, parent ka child class. So am I deriving some of the features in the derived class from the base class? Yes, this concept is called as inheritance. Inheritance is used when we wish to go for something called as, you can say, reusability. I'll just save this diagram for your reference. प्रोग्राम के थ्रू कैसे लिखना है वो हम बाद में देखते हैं, बट एटलीस्ट आपको कंसेप्ट पहले समझ में आना चाहिए. When you talk about inheritance, it is basically compulsory कि आप हमेशा inheritance में derived class का ही ऑब्जेक्ट बनाते हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि उससे मेरा मेमोरी भी सेव होगा और derived class is using the base class features into it. Suppose what is the use? I have one more class, okay, where I'm having the class name as, let us say, manager. And maybe this manager is having MID as its own ID. Maybe that manager is having, let us say, some role, string role. Maybe that manager is of products department, that manager is of sales department, or whatever it is, a designation or role, whatever it is, right? And I say I wish to go for a void print manager data. Now in this scenario, can I say a manager is also an employee? Can I say like this? Can I say like this? Manager is also an employee. Employee is a person. Means I am deriving the features of existing class. यहाँ पे मैनेजर का क्या हो जाएगा? चाइल्ड क्लास हो जाएगा. एम्प्लॉय क्या हो जाएगा? उसका बेस क्लास हो जाएगा. Whenever I will create the object of a manager class, let us say manager MG, where MG is the object. Whenever I will create the object of manager class, मुझे मेरे प्रोग्राम में किसके लिए जगह मिलेगा? To store, it will obviously take name and age from the person class. It will obviously take ID and salary from the employee class. And it will obviously take these two fields from this class. Am I reusing the features? Yes. This type of scenario is called as inheritance. समझ में आया? Is it okay? So I hope you have understood. Base class is also called as superclass. It is also called as parent class. Derived class is also called as subclass, also called as child class. Whenever I use inheritance, I normally create the object of the derived class so that I should achieve a concept called as reusability. Syntax हम बाद में देखते हैं कि कैसे हम declare करते हैं. Okay. What is derived class and base class? Apara, base class is the class which is basically the supermost class. जब मैं एम्प्लॉय की बात करती हूं तो दिस इज डिराइव्ड फ्रॉम द पर्सन बिकॉज एम्प्लॉय इज अ पर्सन ओनली. तो अगर मैं फॉर एग्जाम्पल एम्प्लॉय क्लास अलग बनाती थी, मैनेजर क्लास अलग बनाती थी, तो मुझे एम्प्लॉय क्लास के अंदर भी नेम, एज, आईडी, सैलरी ऐसे 4 फील्ड्स डिक्लेयर करने पड़ते थे. एंड मैनेजर क्लास के अंदर में मुझे नेम, एज, MID, रोल ऐसे 4 डेटा मेंबर्स अलग से डिक्लेयर करने पड़ते थे. But here I'm reusing the features and as and when I'm going into the derivation part. That is called as base and derived class. All right. Rani, manager can access the member of both person and employee. Yes, that is what is the inheritance. Reusing the features of existing class is called as inheritance. Class is derived from base. Yes, employee class is derived from person. Manager class is derived from employee. This is how we can read. Yes, through object you can access. I will show you the program part. Yes, Anirudh, I have given a manager is a subclass of employee. Employee is subclass of person. So person will be the supermost class. This will be subclass. This will be a subclass. Okay, Anirudh? Taking reference for Pavan, I'm not getting your question. It's like a chain. Yes, where you can reuse the features. Okay. All right. Shall we go ahead by writing the program of this scenario, class person and class employee, how to write inheritance? Okay. Now, before going to inheritance, do you remember, can we say we can use only one superclass? No, Rani. There can be multiple superclass also. I will give you the different types of inheritance. So inheritance, yes, Praveen, it is taking reference from the base class. Inheritance allows us to define a class in terms of another class, which makes it easier to create and maintain the application. It provides the opportunity to reuse the code functionality and fast implementation time. When you are creating a class, instead of writing completely new data members, member functions programmer can designate that new class should inherit the members of existing class. So the existing class is called as a base class and the new class is referred as a derived class. So syntax says class, derived class, colon, access specifier and base class. I'll explain with the help of program also. If is a relationship exist between two types, we should use inheritance. Inheritance is also called as generalization. When I say book is a product can be anything. प्रोडक्ट को आईडी रहेगा, प्रोडक्ट का नेम रहेगा, प्रोडक्ट का प्राइस रहेगा, प्रोडक्ट का you can say some unique number रहेगा. But when I'm coming to specific product called as book is a product, bottle is a product, laptop is a product, mobile is a product. तो in that case प्रोडक्ट नाम का एक क्लास बनेगा जहां पे कॉमन फीचर्स रहेंगे प्रोडक्ट के, नेम, मे बी आईडी, मे बी द प्राइस, मे बी समथिंग एंड सो ऑन. जब मैं स्पेसिफिक आऊंगी बुक के पास तो बुक का कुछ आईएसबीएन नंबर रहेगा, बुक का कोई आईडी रहेगा, बुक का कोई नाम रहेगा, बुक के कोई ऑथर्स रहेंगे. तो व्हेन आई ट्राई टू डिस्प्ले द इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट बुक, it will display all the information. When I'm talking about product as a mobile, in that case mobile का product, mobile का code रहेगा, something called as cost रहेगा, and so on and so forth. So it is like you are trying to have Anuja, I'm muting you. So you are trying to access the features of existing class into the derived class. During inheritance, members of the base class inherit into the derived class. Can we more class derived in a single class? Yes, Pawan. I'll tell you the different types of inheritance. ऐसे जरूरी नहीं है कि एक base class है तो एक ही derived class हो सकता है. एक बेस क्लास में से मल्टीपल डेराइव क्लासेस भी हो सकते हैं, मल्टीपल बेस क्लासेस में से एक डेराइव क्लास हो सकता है, और यू कैन हैव अ कॉम्बिनेशन. देयर आर डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ इनहेरिटेंस दैट वी हैव. I will tell you those. This is type of inheritance. Let me come to this point. When I talk, product will be the base class, book one will be the derived one. Yes, Anirudh, absolutely correct. When you talk about types of inheritance, I'll come to this association part later on. So I've given you the introduction about C++ inheritance, and let me explain something called as types of inheritance. If you are talking about single inheritance, I have only one base class and one derived class. This is called as single inheritance. If I have multiple base classes and those base classes are having one derived class, then that is called as multiple inheritance. Okay. Next, for example, अगर मैं बोलती हूँ I have a class student, I have a class result calculation, I have a class student, and let us say I have a class marks जहां पे मैं उसकी average marks, subject wise marks ये सब maintain कर रही हूँ. And finally I will have one result, let us say class result. When I display the result of that class, it should take features from the student class, features from the marks class, and display me the result, right? So that is basically called as multiple inheritance. One or more number of base class are derived into one, that is multiple. There can be a multi-level 2 where I have one base class, derived class, and so on. जिसका example मैंने अब बताया. I have a person class, I have a employee class, and I have a specific manager class. So this will be a class person, this will be a class employee. I'm sorry. This will be a class employee, and this will be a specific manager. Right? So here I am deriving level wise, then that is called as multi-level inheritance. Okay. Next can be I have a hierarchical inheritance also. Right? So if you have hierarchical inheritance, I have one base class which can have multiple derived classes. The example you can say over here is, if I have a shape class, assume I have a shape class. This shape can be of rectangle, can be of triangle, can be of square, where I'll get the area. So this is a circle class, this can be your triangle class, and this can be maybe your square class. So when I say shape, it's a common functionality, but when I'm going specifically to some classes, then this type of inheritance is called as hierarchical inheritance. Now, when I say I have a combination of some of the inheritance, then that is called as hybrid inheritance. So these are basically called as types of inheritance. Okay, is multiple is same as friend class? No, तुषार. मल्टीपल जब हम इनहेरिटेंस डिक्लेयर करते हैं तो हमें कंपाइलर को बताना पड़ेगा कि विच इज माय बेस क्लास एंड विच इज माय डिराइव्ड क्लास. फ्रेंड में हमने बताया नहीं उसको कि ये फ्रेंड्स है, सिर्फ हमने फ्रेंड नाम का फंक्शन ए में भी लिखा था और बी में भी लिखा था. ओके, हैव यू अंडरस्टूड अप टू दिस पॉइंट? राइट, यू कैन कंसिडर एनीथिंग. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ये मैंने मार्क्स यहाँ पे मैंने क्लास रिजल्ट बनाया, राइट राइट, यहाँ पे आई एम मेकिंग अ क्लास रिजल्ट. जस्ट अ सेकेंड. You can use any combination. Class result. अब इस क्लास रिजल्ट ने लेट अस अज्यूम एक इंडिविजुअल स्टूडेंट का रिजल्ट दिया. अब मुझे पूरे डिपार्टमेंट का रिजल्ट डिस्प्ले करना है, तो ऑब्वियसली आई विल हैव लेट अस से वन क्लास which will use the information which is derived from this and this. So you can have any combination. Okay, Aparra. So let us say department ka result I'm calculating. Any department result I'm calculating. So obviously उसमें मुझे स्टूडेंट का भी रिजल्ट लगेगा, सबके मार्क्स भी लगेंगे. वो कैलकुलेट होने के बाद मुझे डिपार्टमेंट का एवरेज रिजल्ट भी कैलकुलेट. सो कैन आई से दिस इज नथिंग बट वन टाइप ऑफ इनहेरिटेंस, दिस इज नथिंग बट अनदर टाइप ऑफ इनहेरिटेंस, एंड दैट इज नथिंग बट कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ वन और मोर इनहेरिटेंस. ये पहला एक इनहेरिटेंस का टाइप हुआ, एंड विच इज बेसिकली मल्टीपल इनहेरिटेंस. एंड ये दूसरा टाइप ऑफ इनहेरिटेंस हुआ which is nothing but multi-level. Combination of two or more inheritance is hybrid inheritance. Okay, so you can have any combination of inheritance. I'll save it for your reference. So you can go for any type of inheritance. Okay, now there is some concept which is called as access specifier access specifier and mode of inheritance. If someone asks you what are the access specifier, your answer should be private, public, and protected. And if someone asks you what are the modes of inheritance, you will say the same answer. Okay. अब तक आपने जितने क्लासेस डिक्लेयर किए उसमें हमने देखा था प्राइवेट एंड पब्लिक डिक्लेरेशन. डू यू रिमेंबर? Whenever you have declared a class, you have either assigned a fields or you can say data members को जब मैं values data members जब मैं declare कर रही थी तो either I have used private data members or public data members, right? या फिर जब मैं member functions की भी बात कर रही थी, at that moment also I was using either private, public or protected. Right? Now, when you are talking about giving these keywords like private, protected or public, I'll explain the protected now. When you are giving these keywords to the data members or the member functions, then at that stage, I will call them as access specifiers. So what are the access specifiers? Answer is private, public and protected only. If I am using these keywords along with the data members and the member functions, their terminology is called as access specifiers. समझ में आया? What are access specifiers? मतलब जिसके थ्रू हमें एक्सेसेशन मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा वो पता होता है. अगर मैं प्राइवेट लिखती हूँ तो मुझे उस पर्टिकुलर फील्ड्स को सिर्फ क्लास के अंदर ही एक्सेसिबिलिटी मिलता है, क्लास के बाहर नहीं मिलता है, इसलिए हम उनको एक्सेस स्पेसिफायर्स बोलते हैं. Have you understood up to this point? So when you are specifying the keywords like private, public, protected, along with the member functions and the data members of the class, then you can call it as access specifiers. But when you are talking about inheritance, and let us say I have a class base. Assume I have a class derived. But here I will say colon, यहां पे मैं स्पेसिफाई करूंगी मोड एंड यहां पे लिखूंगी बेस. दिस इज द सिंटैक्स. अ क्लास नेम, derived class name, colon, mode and the base class name. So when I say I am specifying the mode while performing inheritance, then that is called as mode of inheritance. तो ये मोड के क्या वैल्यूज हो सकते हैं? इट कैन बी प्राइवेट, पब्लिक एंड प्रोटेक्टेड. सो व्हाइल यूजिंग द प्राइवेट, पब्लिक एंड प्रोटेक्टेड कीवर्ड्स एट द टाइम ऑफ deriving the derived class, then that keywords are called as mode of inheritance. समझ में आया everyone? Yes or no? तो वर्ड सेम है, सिर्फ टर्मिनोलॉजी अलग अलग है बेस्ड ऑन इट्स यूज. नाउ इन केस ऑफ एक्सेस स्पेसिफायर्स, इफ यू राइट प्राइवेट, it means what? They will be accessible only within that class. If you write public, they will be accessible throughout the program, anywhere, right? If you talk about protected, in that case, suppose I have one class A, I have class B, and let us say I have class C. Can I say this is my base class, this is my derived class, and this may be a sub-derived class, a derivation, more derivation into it, right? So, in case of this scenario, I can have 3 fields into it, maybe private, maybe public, or maybe protected. If I say I am referring to private keyword, suppose मैंने private keyword से base class में कुछ fields लिखे, तो क्या मेरे private data members को base class में accessibility मिलेगा? Yes. Will I get the accessibility of private into derived? No. Will I get the accessibility of private into sub-derived? No. Have you understood? Next, suppose if I'm talking about public, any field which is declared as public, will it be accessible within the base? Yes. Will it be accessible within the derived? Yes. Will it be accessible within the sub-derived? Yes. Let us consider about the next one, protected. If I talk about protected, will it have the accessibility within the base? Yes. Will it have the accessibility in the derived? Yes. Will it have the accessibility into sub-derived? Answer is no. So if I wish one level derivation, अगर next level तक ही मेरा field access होना चाहिए, in that case, I will go for protected. Have you understood up to this point? Same is the case with mode of inheritance. If you write private, in that case, only that class will have the accessibility. But normally, हम mode of inheritance public लिखते हैं. So that mode of inheritance हम public लिखते हैं, so that your data can be accessed easily from the base class. Haniraj, if you observe private, private को सिर्फ accessibility base class के अंदर ही है. Can you see the color coding? Private को derived class and sub derived class में accessibility नहीं है, provided you do not have a friend function. But if you talk about protected, they have one level accessibility up to this level. This is called as protected. Okay, so I have included one table, access control or mode of inheritance. The keywords are same, public, protected or private. If I'm talking about same class, then yes, they have the accessibility. Derived class, yes, they have the accessibility. Outside the class, yes, they have the accessibility for public. Protected, same class, they have the accessibility. Derived class, yes, you can access, and outside class, no, you cannot. Private may, they have the only accessibility within the same class. Derived and outside may, there will be no accessibility. Now, please read this. If we use private, protected, and public keyword to manage visibility of members of the class. What are the members of the class? It may be data members and the member fields. Then that is called as access specifiers. But if we use these keywords to extend the class, then it is called as mode of inheritance. C++ support both private, protected, inheritance, public mode of inheritance. If we do not specify the mode, by default, inheritance is private mode, right? What is the use of private? Suraj, if you want to just make one single class which cannot be shared by anyone, then you can use as a private keyword. For friend function, Sajan, it is completely, see, अगर आप फ्रेंड फंक्शन जिस भी क्लास में लिखते हो तो वो बाय डिफॉल्ट फ्रेंड बन जाते हैं, तो फिर प्रोटेक्टेड को ओवरकम करेगा वो. सो इट इज बेस्ड ऑन रिक्वायरमेंट हाउ यू वांट टू गो. You can say like that, Suraj. See, as I said, हर एक प्रोग्राम में इनहेरिटेंस नहीं होता है. If you remember major and minor pillars, inheritance comes as a major pillar, but it is completely based on the requirement. Okay, Suraj? Right. Sajan, your video is on, but why you are sitting in so dark? It's complete blackout. You can keep your video off. All right. So have you understood, everyone? Up to this point, we will write a program, not to worry. Now, this is little theoretical concept, or if you wish to implement, you can implement. But when you talk about association, for example, I can have, let us say, one car, right? If I say car, and if I say car has a engine, right? If there is has a relationship between two entities, then this is called as association. This is called as association. So what is association? If I talk about two different classes, and if they have has a relationship, then I will call it as a association. Now, car has an engine. Or in another words, if I say engine is a part of car, right? Here also, I will call it as association. So either I have a relationship of has a, or if I have a relationship of is a part of, then that kind of relationship between two classes is called as association. समझ में आया what is association? If object is a part of another object, it is called as association. If we declare object of the class as a data member inside another class, it represents association. That means if I have a class engine, if I have a class car, or class car के अंदर मैंने इंजन क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट बनाया है, then that is called as association. So there are certain situations when I have a has a relationship or is a part of relationship. So how I will implement it? I will have a class card, its own definition part, right? I will have an engine class, right, where I will have its own definition. But when I'm saying it is a part of class car, the rule is I will create object, let us say engine E. So can I say I have created object of the class engine inside the class car? Yes, this is how you can implement it. अब तक हम क्या कर रहे थे? हम main लिख रहे थे, integer main, right? Inside the main मैं car class का object बनाती थी C, engine class का एक object बनाती थी E, and C dot something, E dot something, and so on. But if I am creating that object of class within another class definition, then that is called as association. Have you understood up to this point? Everyone? All right. The association is having two categories. One is a composition, another is aggregation. I'll just take this. One is a composition, another is aggregation. So these are the things that you have to, you can say while implementing, they are useful. Aggregation. Useful in the sense, requirement क्या है? जैसे मुझे अगर कार का कोई एप्लीकेशन बनाना है, तो इंजन का ऑब्जेक्ट मुझे कार के अंदर ही बनाना पड़ेगा. तो आई विल से आई एम इम्प्लीमेंटिंग एसोसिएशन, राइट? Now, in case of association, it has two categories. One is composition, another is aggregation. If I say human has a heart, okay? So can I say yahan pe bhi I have a relationship which is has a relationship? Everyone? Yes. Similarly, if I say here department has a faculty, can I say this is also one kind of has a relationship? Of course, yes. Right. Now, can I say at this point of time that if the heart is not present, will the human will be alive? If the heart is not present, will the human will be alive? No. Means they are connected tightly with each other. This is called as tightly coupling. But if I say I have zero number of faculties in the department, तो मेरा department existence में रहेगा क्या? Yes, this is called as loosely coupling. Okay, so if dependency object do not exist without a dependent object, I will say here heart is dependent object. And human is a dependency object. अगर मेरा डिपेंडेंसी ऑब्जेक्ट विदाउट डिपेंडेंट ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं एग्जिस्ट होता है, उसको हम बोलते हैं कॉम्पोजिशन. If I say dependent object or dependency object may exist without a dependent object, then that is called as aggregation. Got the difference between what is aggregation and what is composition. Everyone. Neha, I'm muting you. Everyone. So if we talk about association, here also I have a has a relationship, but there are two categories. One is composition, another is aggregation. If dependency object do not exist without dependent object, it represents composition. If dependency object exists with a dependent object, it represents, you can say, aggregation. Composition represent tight coupling, aggregation represent loose coupling. For example, यहाँ पे भी हार्ट क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट ह्यूमन के अंदर ही बनेगा, यहाँ पे भी फैकल्टी क्लास का ऑब्जेक्ट डिपार्टमेंट के अंदर ही बनेगा, बिकॉज इट इज एसोसिएशन. But if specifically or tightly connected components are there, then that is called as composition. Otherwise, they are called as aggregation. Have you understood what is inheritance? What is association? Is a relationship आया? It's an inheritance. Has a relationship आया? It's an association. Has a में tightly coupling आया? That is composition. Has a में loosely coupling आया? It is aggregation. And have you all understood the mode of inheritance? There are three: public, protected, and private. Did you all get it up to this point? If yes, then we will write a program of inheritance where we will have one class person and we will have one class, you can say, employee. Haniraj, it is not complicated. Just आपको syntax थोड़े से याद रखने हैं. Inheritance is basically reusability. तो जैसे आप अपना project develop करते हो, तो you design that this is my project, these are the different classes in my project, but you have to find out as a developer what relation one class is having with another. And if you are maintaining the relationship between two different classes, that means you have to go for something called as inheritance, because you want to reuse some features. अगर आप individual data fetch करोगे, so it will be more difficult for you. So it's always better go for inheritance if you wish to go for reusability. Is it okay? Everyone. All right. Shall we write a program of class person and class employee? Okay. Now I will include one header file, string.h, string header file. String is basically one, you can say, class which is available in your C++. तो आप directly string name लिख सकते हो. C में string नाम का header file हमने देखा था, string.h header file, but वहां से हमने सिर्फ predefined functions लिए थे. We did not have a direct class called as string, but in C++ you have a direct class called as string. How to use it, I will tell you. Suppose I have declared one class person. This is a class person declaration where I have private data members. Maybe I'm writing string name and maybe I'm writing integer age. Now here name is actually a variable, or you can say an object of string class. This is predefined. So instead of writing character name of 20, आप यहाँ पे string class use कर सकते हो, because in C++ you have direct header file called as string. यहाँ तक समझ में आया? Everyone. Now I'm declaring a public section where I'm writing person. I'll just say inside person class parameter less constructor. ये आपको प्रिंट करके मैं बताऊंगी, इसलिए I'm writing few statements. Let us say I'm writing this dot name is equal to, let us say, Akshita. अगर आप string dot h header file include कर रहे थे, at that moment आप यहाँ पे basically you can say strcpyb function use कर सकते हो to copy that data, right? And I'm saying this arrow age, let us say, is equal to 33. So I'm giving some default values to this person class, right? This is a constructor. Next, I'm writing again string name, integer age. This arrow name is equal to name. This arrow age is equal to age. Can I say this is basically a parameterized constructor that I have specified in my program? अगर मैं person class का p object बनाऊंगी तो वो मुझे parameterized parameterless constructor में लेके जाएगा. And if I create a parameterized constructor by creating an object and passing two values, so inside person class parameterized constructor, it will take me over here. Is this mandatory? No, Atharva. It is basically when you are specifying the constructor within the class, if you're mentioning parameterized constructor, before it is a good practice to give a parameterless constructor, जिसको हम बोलते हैं user defined default constructor. It's compulsory. ओके कंस्ट्रक्टर यूज करते ही हो तो आप पैरामीटराइज्ड के पहले पैरामीटर लेस को स्पेसिफाई करना इज अ गुड प्रैक्टिस. कैन यू प्लीज टेल मी व्हाट इज दिस ऑन लाइन नंबर 23? Destructor. Very good. So I'll write inside destructor of person class. I'm writing specific sentences because I want to show you something where we are going to see what is the sequence of the program execution. Let us say I'm writing one void print person function where I just wish to print a name of the person. I'll say this arrow name, and I want to print age of the person. I'll say this arrow age. So this is going to print name and age for me. Did you all understand up to this point the class declaration and the function definitions? Right. Now, I want to specify, I'll say over here, for my program, person is base class and employee is derived class. I am trying to implement the concept of something called as inheritance. So here, person is the base class which is being defined correctly, which is having two constructor, one function and one destructor. This is the end of person class. Now, I'm saying class employee. Is my class employee is derived from person class? Yes, I have to tell my compiler, please inherit class employee from the class person. Here, if you are not mentioning the mode of inheritance, then you have to basically consider it's a private inheritance. But normally we go for public inheritance so that I will get the accessibility to all the fields of the person class. So what is the derived class syntax says? You write class keyword, you write derived class ka naam, class name, you write colon, you write mode can be anything, public, private, protected, and you write base class name. मेरे बेस क्लास का नाम क्या है? पर्सन. समझ में आया यहां तक? The syntax part. Here is the end of this employee class. All right. Inside this employee class, I'm having maybe integer ID and integer salary. Inside this employee class, I'm having a public declaration where I will have an employee class constructor, right? Here I'll say inside employee class constructor, right? And I will allocate some default values to it. Maybe I'll say this arrow ID is equal to 1, this arrow salary is equal to, let us say, 60,000. Did you all get up to this point? All right. अब हम क्या करते हैं, यहाँ पे फिर से मैं लिखती हूं void print emp, and I'm just trying to print id and id, and I'm printing salary, which is this. Okay, I'm not writing parameterized constructor for time being. We will keep it on hold for time being. I'll just create an employee destructor. So I'll say inside employee destructor, we will only create object of employee class, and हम पहले सिर्फ पैरामीटर लेस कंस्ट्रक्टर को कॉल कर रहे हैं. ठीक है? Have you understood the employee class definition? Everyone? All right. Inside the base class within function नहीं समझा. Pawan, can you see यहाँ पे print person function है, which is going to print name and age? Can you see here print emp function hai, which is printing ID and salary? Inside this function, I am giving a call to print person function. Can I call this? Yes. How? Because this is basically, I am having an inheritance concept, which is going to give a call to superclass function. Let us say I'm writing main. I'm creating employee eobj. I'll say eobj dot print emp. Now, first of all, जब मैंने object eobj बनाया है, can you please tell me which constructor will be given a call? Parameter less. Very good. So it should go into this. Do you all agree? Everyone? Yes. Ab. And along with that, ID and salary will be allocated. ठीक है. But my compiler will also observe this employee class is derived from person class. तो ये automatically person class के parameter less constructor में जाएगा और name और age को initialize करेगा. Right? Let us observe this. Let it get compiled. ./a.exe. Can you see? I have created, please concentrate carefully, these types of questions are asked. I have created derived class object which is giving call to parameter less constructor. ये तो हमें समझ में आया. But किसका parameter less constructor पहले call हुआ? Can you see it is giving me inside person class parameter less? Automatically, yes. So what I want to conclude over here is, if you are creating a class, a derived class object, at that moment, if it is a call to parameter less constructor, automatically first base class parameter less constructor gets called, and then derived class parameter less constructor gets called. क्या मैंने ऑटोमेटिकली मैंने खुद से कॉल किया? नहीं, it gets called automatically because you are using inheritance and parent is my parent, person is my parent class. Did you all get it? तो इसका मतलब पहले parameterless constructor of this person class have been initialized, and it has initialized your values as Akshita and 33. And when I'm coming to this employee class back, it will assign ID and salary 1 and 60,000. Now it will come over here, eobj.print emp. It will go to print emp function, and I have said, please print the person. It will go inside this person class. It will print current object ka name, current object ka age. It is displaying Akshita and this. Again, it will come back to this calling area, current object ID, current object salary. It is giving me. Also, I have ended my object over here. Once the object goes out of this, it goes to the destructor. उल्टा जाएगा, पहले derived class का destructor, बाद में person class का destructor. Have you understood now the flow? It is not multiple inheritance, Devidas. It is single inheritance. You can create multiple inheritance. One more class you can create, class manager, public employee. तो पहले person class, फिर employee class, फिर आपका manager class. तीनों constructor calling sequence होगा. Constructor calling sequence and destructor calling sequence is exactly opposite in case of your inheritance. This you have to remember. आपके CCAT में ऐसे questions आते हैं, base class का constructor बनाया, derived class का constructor बनाया. Constructor calling sequence is exactly opposite to destructor calling sequence. Right. Muskan, I have not yet touched the part of parameterized constructor. I've just written parameterized constructor in the base class, but I've not yet written parameterized constructor. After the break, पहले हम parameterized constructor of employee class लिखेंगे और क्या changes कर सकते हैं वो भी देखेंगे. But the conclude, it's fetching the data of both the classes right now. Yes, Ashwini, because person is a base class, employee is a derived class. Yes, Tushar, the conclusion over here from this program, right, is when I create object of the derived class, at that moment, if a parameter-less constructor is called, then the super class parameter-less constructor gets called automatically. क्या मैंने यहाँ पे पैरामीटरलेस कंस्ट्रक्टर को कॉल किया था? सिर्फ मैंने एम्प्लॉय को कॉल किया. क्या मैंने इधर लिखा क्या पर्सन? नहीं लिखा, बिकॉज इट इज गिविंग मी अ कॉल ऑटोमेटिकली टू द सुपर क्लास पैरामीटर लेस कंस्ट्रक्टर. तुषार, वेट फॉर पैरामीटराइज्ड, आई विल टीच आफ्टर द ब्रेक. बट यहां तक समझ में आया कि when you are creating object of derived class, parameter less constructor of super class gets called automatically. Is it okay? Have you understood how I have used the syntax of inheritance? All right. So let us take 15 minutes break and then we will continue with inheritance, where I will give a call to parameterized constructor, and then I will go to the next part, which is called as, you can say, virtual and diamond problem.